Bringing the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt for more on this and a couple of other items of pressing importance. So here's what the Deputy Director, Caroline, welcome to the program, Dan Bongino, said about this Boulder act. He called it an act of terror. He said this act of terror is being investigated as an act of ideologically motivated violence based on the early information, the evidence, and witness accounts. We'll speak clearly on these incidents when the facts warrant it. He's been charged with a hate crime. The FBI is investigating terrorism. What's the White House's perspective on this?
Well, FBI Director Kash Patel is absolutely right. And the president just put out a very strong statement condemning this attack. This terrorist came into our country under the previous administration. Joe Biden's administration foolishly gave him a tourist visa and that allowed him to unlawfully remain in our country. This individual should have been deported. Instead, he was welcomed here. And now, 3 years later, after coming to this country under Joe Biden's administration, he is lighting Jewish people on fire who were simply trying to peacefully pay respect to the hostages in Israel. This absolutely is an act of targeted terrorism. The FBI and the Department of Justice are investigating it as such, and the president is going to ensure that this individual is held to the fullest extent of the law. And not just this individual, but any individual, especially illegal criminals who engage in acts of terrorism, will be held accountable under this president.
Caroline, the details that we are now learning, as Alicia just reported out of Boulder, they are chilling. They found 14 unlit Molotov cocktails at the scene of his arrest. On his victims, he said he targeted them. He knew they were there. In fact, when he confessed to the attack, when he was being taken into custody, he told the police he would do it again. So how do we make sure there are not more people like that out there in our streets in this country? How do we keep people safe?
Well, this is, again, an act of despicable evil. And this administration has already done so much to ensure that we are deporting individuals who seek to do harm in our country and who are in our country illegally. In fact, ICE Boston just announced the arrest of more than 1,100 illegal aliens who were in Boston in the surrounding suburbs in Massachusetts, which was a sanctuary city for a state for illegal aliens. The only place this country should be a sanctuary for are law-abiding American citizens. And that's why the president has taken historic, unprecedented action to secure our nation's territorial borders, but he has also signed an executive order to streamline and make stricter our legal immigration process and our visa process. And I would remind anyone here who is on a visa, like this individual in Boulder, Colorado, came to our country, it is a privilege, not a right, to enter the United States of America. And we are not going to allow people who are pushing anti-American values and especially engaging in acts of violence to remain in our country. Your visa will be revoked and you will be deported.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that this person's status or lack thereof. This is what DHS said. The Colorado terrorist attack suspect, Mohammed Solomon, is illegally in our country. He entered the country in August of 2022 on a B-2 visa that expired on February of 2023. He filed for asylum in September of 2022. We've got the timeline that we want to put up on the screen after we read the statement there from Tricia McLaughlin. So he came in August 27th, 2022. September 29th, 2022, he filed a claim for asylum. February 26th, his authorization to stay expired. That was in 2023. But look at this. March 29th, 2023, a month after that, he's granted a work authorization by the Biden administration. What does that say, Caroline, about their vetting process?
They had no vetting process. This is something President Trump has been calling attention to for years. He talked about this on the campaign trail, how the Biden administration was allowing illegal aliens from all over the world to come into our country illegally, unvetted, untested. We had a wide open border policy, and the president was right to point that out in his statement this morning. All of that has come to an end, though, John, and this administration is focused on deporting as many of these illegal aliens who entered our country country as possible. Again, this is not going to be a place of asylum for those who seek to do harm in the United States of America. We have a legal immigration process for a reason that this administration is focused on strengthening. But in the meantime, we are conducting widespread deportation operations across this country to remove terrorists like this individual from our communities every single day.
All right, we will continue to bring our viewers and listeners any new details from Boulder as we get them.
The FBI immediately labeling it as a targeted terror attack, but some guests on CNN, including a former FBI deputy director, taking issue with that characterization.
The local authorities are saying one thing, and the FBI is saying something slightly different.
Yeah, that's never a great start. He is really being very, very careful, and I think that's the right approach at this point. They don't have a clear idea.
It makes law enforcement look disorganized, and it makes the FBI look so juvenile. Like, why are you getting ahead of the police chief?
The guy literally lit a Holocaust survivor on fire, and the media suddenly cares about waiting for more facts while he yelled, "Free Palestine," and more. Greg, I was thinking about how you and I have been doing the show for nearly 14 years, and the terrorism cases and attacks, they have morphed. And now we always worried about this, like, what about the attacks from within? Mm-hmm. And now you are seeing this. There is a pattern, and this is just one more in a horrible set of instances.
You know what's interesting is there is a pattern that hasn't changed, and it's the media's focus on the reaction of the attack and not the attack itself. So why would they do that? Why is it more important to them to talk about the labeling of this? Because they know that they're complicit in what happened before. They'd rather not talk about what could have been prevented. For example, when you elect a crumbling president, you have a crumbling border. That is the best cause and effect you're ever going to see. The reason why this guy was able to get in was because Biden was president. You don't want to talk about that because then you're complicit. So you focus on the reaction after. Did you see what Stephen Miller said? Did you see what Donald Trump said? If I were to say right now, is there a study? Has anybody ever done a study on the most common first name among terrorists? It's just a question. I bet that will get more coverage than the terrorist attack itself. It's always about the reaction. What's also incredible to me is how quickly identity politics disappears. Suddenly, the who or the what about the terrorist becomes the least important factor. But if he was up for a job in the faculty lounge of Harvard, it would be front and center. But if you live by identity politics, you die by it. It was identity politics that allowed this fiend to be seen as an aggrieved group, get special dispensation that helped him pave the way to unleash this carnage because he's aggrieved. And so right now you have a legacy media that is doing nothing but criticizing people for calling it what it is, terrorism.
Fiend. He's a real fiend when it comes to video games. Aggrieved. Many aggrieved employees protested against the new policy. Dispensation. She received a special dispensation to skip the final exam. Carnage. The war left a trail of carnage and destruction. Privilege. Access to clean drinking water is a privilege in many parts of the world. Vet. The company vets all new employees before hiring them. Morph. The character morphed from a villain into a hero by the end of the story. Complicit. He was complicit in the fraud scheme and faced legal consequences.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.